Happy morning to one and all. Today we're going to concept about intention to create legal relationship and about the concept consideration. Let us discuss these two topics in this session. The first one is intention to create legal relationship. Let us move the concept. Legal relationship. The parties to an agreement must create legal relationship. It arises when parties know that if one for the failure of a contract. Agreements of a social or domestic nature do not create legal relationships and as such cannot give rise to a contract. It is presumed in commercial agreements that parties intend to create legal relations. Let us go to the next slide by taking an example. So while taking an example, a father promises to pay his son 500 rupees every month as pocket money. Later, he refuses to pay. The son cannot recover as it is a social agreement and does not create legal relations. I can see another example. A offers to sell his watch to B for 200 rupees and B agrees to buy it at the same price. There is a contract and it creates legal relationship between them. So by coming to analysis of these examples, we can know that what do you mean by social agreements and what do you mean by commercial agreements. Let us move to the next slide, that is about concept of lawful consideration. So lawful consideration. The third essential element of a valid contract is the presence of consideration. Consideration is something in return. It may be some benefit to the party. For example, X was selling his land to Y. He wants money and Y wants land. He gives the money to X. This is called something return. The something return is we called as land and something is called return is called as money. Let us see the simple words. Consideration has been defined as the price paid by one party for the promise of the other. An agreement is enforceable only when both the parties get something, give something. The something given or obtained is the price of the promise and is called consideration. Let us move the next slide. For example, A agrees to sell his house to B for 10 lakhs. Is the consideration for A promise to sell the house and A's promise to sell the house is consideration for B's promise to pay 10 lakhs. These are lawful consideration. We can see next example. A promise to obtain for B employment in the public service and B promise to pay 10,000 rupees to A. The agreement is void as the consideration for it is unlawful. Why? Because see, if you getting a backdoor job, is it backdoor job is a right way? It is nothing but welcome with law of contract. It is called as illegal. Let us go to the next slide, that is essential elements of a valid consideration. So these are the elements of a valid consideration. When these elements are there itself only we can consider is a valid contract and valid consideration. If any of the points has missed, it cannot be called as a valid consideration. The first one is it must move at the desire of the promiser, and second one, it may move from any person. Consideration may be past or present or future. Consideration must be of some value. Consideration must be real and not illusory. Something other than promises existing obligation. These are the essential elements of a valid consideration. Let us go with the concept. It consideration must move at the desire of the promiser. So what mean by desire of the promiser? Let me example. Okay. For example, I lost my purse while going to market. Right? Somehow the person has identified my purse and give to me. He was called me up, he was given to my purse. If I have the desire, I will pay him the money. That is called as a desire of promiser. It is depends upon myself. It is called a must move at the consideration must move at the desire of the promiser. Next one, that is consideration may move from any person. So let me then example, that is about of a stranger is there. Think an example. He does not have any grandsons. He adopt the one of the grandsons. So he adopt the one of the orphan child, and he thinks that the assets of the person is the assets of the wants to give his the adopt orphan child. So this is called as it may move from any person. So here the consideration is the assets can be moved from any person. That is also one of the consideration. Next one is it may be past, present or future. So consideration can be done either in present situation, or it can be past situation, or the consideration can be future situation. Let me say an example. See, for example, X renders some services to Y, and Y's request in the month of May. In June, Y promises to pay 1000 rupees for his past services. Past services amount to past consideration. X can recover 1000 rupees from Y because it has the promise to give his money in past and giving the money present. That is called a past consideration. Let us go for present condition. The consideration which moves simultaneously with promise is called present condition. For example, in case of cash sales, promise to pay the price and promise to deliver the goods are performed simultaneously. That is called as present consideration. Let us talk about future consideration. The consideration which is to be moved after the formation of agreement is called future consideration. For example, X promises to deliver certain goods to Y after 10 days, and Y promises to pay after 10 days from the date of delivery. That is called as future consideration. Let us go with the concept of it must be some value. So compulsory when making the consideration should have the some value. So how it is considered in the law of contract? For you can say an example, A agrees to sell his bike worth of rupees 25,000. Think an example, and he was selling for 500 rupees. Here the contract is either the person is really with free consent, he was selling 25,000 rupees of bike, the cost with only of 500 rupees. This is called as a consideration must be some value in according to the law. And next one is it must be real and not illusory. So something can be certain. Illusory means nothing but we are creating something like Babas what they're doing today nowadays, because it is not illusory. So it is nothing but it called a not real. So for example, we can say that one Baba is there. He was promises that he will bring his wife, dead wife. Okay, is it possible? Nothing, because it is impossible of nature. It is nature. It is called as part of a it must be real and not illusory, right? Next one is there about of something other than the promises existing obligation. So for example, we can say that already have the obligations will be there. For example, if you go to a court of law, you approach a lawyer because he promises that I will judge for you. I will make a judgment for your side. Lawyer give the promises. For his promises existing obligation, we give something for that person. That is called as a something other than promises existing obligation. So we can pay the additional sum. For example, if you have the contract with a lawyer about of 10,000 rupees contract, you get the you in the court of law, we get so many of course of rupees, we can give the additional sum because it is the called as a something other than promises existing obligation. So what he promised, he give the 10,000 rupees, but something can be already will give the some extra money for the person, that is called as a something other than promises existing obligation. So let us go into the concept about now we are now discuss about topic is without consideration no contract, but in some exceptions of consideration there, that is no consideration no contract, because they have some exemptions of consideration. So what are the conditions are nothing but that is first one, agreements made on nature, love and affection. If there is a natural love and affection between father and son, it is because a natural love and affection, there is no consideration at all because it is a social obligation, right? That is the part of it called as agreements made on nature, love and affection. And next one is about of promise to compensate. So promise to compensate is nothing but, think an example, let's say an example, X finds Y's purse and gives it him. Y promises to give 500 rupees to X. This is valid contract even though the consideration do not move at the desire of the promiser. That is called as a promise to compensate. Next one is promise to direct debt. That is called as nothing but such promise without consideration is valid if only in writing, should be in the writing, and second one is should be in the signed by the debtor or his agent, and next one is it relates to a debt which could not be enforced by a creditor because of limitation. So these are the some of the conditions to for the promise to direct debt. For direct debt is nothing but, for example, I am taking a money from my friend. Okay, so if I take the money, I they promise because we have the a good relation between my friend and myself, so I give the money. But if I am take the money of my friend, I just escape from here itself. I escaped, I was gone to somewhere. He was asking his money, but I was not giving reply. Is it there is according to law I cannot give the money for himself. That is called as a promise to uh, direct debt. So in coming to the consideration, how we can design is according to law, it is nothing but if you take any money from any of the person, compulsory should be in the written document, because we cannot say who are the good persons, who are the bad persons in this society. So that's why we should compulsory written the document. That is the part of promise to direct debts. And next one is about of complete gifts. The complete gifts is nothing but called as a donors. So for example, if you take any of examples, well, coming to some of the occasions like January 1st or something like any of the occasions like Dasara or some of the like festivals. So in this manner, like Independence Day, like you second some occasions, so you give some gifts to orphan child or some of the people give the money for the old age home. These are the things. This is no consideration at right, because it giving the about of his affection. He was giving the some society. I want to give some value something to the return back to the society. So in that manner, some of the people will give donor to the persons, that is called as complete gifts. And next one is not the list is about of agency. No consideration is necessary to create an agency relationship. Agency is nothing but what we call is nothing but there are two persons, that is principal and agent. So in that relationship, so principal means he was the act as it with owner of the products, and agent means on behalf of his principal he will sell the products in the market. That is called agency relationship. So no consideration is necessary to create an agency. These are the exemptions of this is the exemptions of consideration. No consideration, no contract. Thank you.